YouTube, what's up? Back again for another daily fishing video here on Andrew Upshaw Fishing. Guys, today we're going to talk about my biggest butt fumble in the history of my professional fishing career. And you know when it happened? Last week at Santee Cooper. And no, I'm not talking about weighing in just 2 fish on day one or finishing, I don't even remember what place it was, like 178th, something like that. No, I'm not even talking about that. We're going to break that down. We're going to talk about what I did. And y'all are probably going to laugh. You're going to make fun of me. But, you know, the one thing about learning and to get better is you got to recognize when you made a mistake. And this is one of those biggest mistakes in my career. Just kind of where we're at. Hopefully it doesn't cost me in the long run. But just kind of where we're at this point. But hey, real fast, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure you'll do that. It's in the bottom right-hand corner. Just hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a video. Before we get into that, I do want to make one quick mention. Stop number 2 of the Let's Fish TV Academy Tour happens next week on Thursday, March 21st at noon. Yes, you heard that right. March 21st at noon on Thursday. The Bassmasters Classic starts on Friday in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We will have the Academy Tour at noon on Thursday. I need as many of you bass fans to come out there and check it out. I'm going to be giving away free fishing line from Strike King. Also be doing a fishing seminar, and we'll be doing a Q&A session. I know Academy's already racking up some really good deals for you guys, so you need to come out and check it out. Come see me. I know a bunch of you bass fans will be in Tulsa already. Come see me at, I think it's like 169 and 81st. And I'll have the address posted here so you can find out where it is. Please share that with a friend. Let them know if they're in that area, they need to come see me. I might even have a couple of my fishing buddies join me as well. We're going to have a really good time. We're going to talk a lot of fishing. And maybe you'll be on a Let's Fish TV show because we always do an after show where we actually show a few clips from the Academy Tour. So maybe you'll have a chance to be on the show. But hey, let's go ahead and talk about what happened. So as you know, that tournament turned into an absolute slugfest. I did not have a slugfest. I had the opposite. Like, if there was an opposite of slugfest, that's what I had. I had 2 fish on day 1 for around 7 pounds, and I had 5 fish on day 2 for right at 13 pounds. I never had a big bite the entire tournament. I didn't even really think I had a big bite the entire practice, to be honest. It was my first time to Santee. I found a lot of really big fish on beds, and I didn't have the right boat number on day 1, and I didn't capitalize on my opportunities throughout the event either. So that's just kind of where I was at with it. So my big butt fumble. It's hard to talk about because it was a really terrible, terrible, terrible decision. So, long story short, I pulled up, I caught a 4-pounder off a bed right first thing that morning, or actually, it wasn't even first thing in the morning, because where I started, I decided I was going to be smart, and I had this one creek, not a community hole, but a creek, where I had some individual fish on beds. They were more isolated. I felt like I could get to them at boat 185 or 188 or whatever I was. So I ran to those fish first. I didn't catch them. They weren't even there. And when I say I didn't catch them, they weren't there. And the reason I know they weren't there because I went to them later in the day as well, and they still weren't there. So all of those fish left the beds for whatever reason, whereas everybody else's fish were just coming like crazy. But mine weren't. So all the 3 or 4 fish that I stopped on that morning weren't there. So then I ran to a pond, and there was a couple competitors in there already, and I rolled in there, and there was a 4-pounder that I knew was there, and I went over there and caught it. I mean, probably in the first 20 minutes I was in there, and I was like, all right, we got our start. We're rolling. We're ready to go. Well, I kind of troll across this pond, and I see a fish on my active target 2. And I was like, that looks like a big one. That actually looks like a really big one. And I start fishing for this fish, and I know it's on a bed, the way it's acting, the way it's circling this one little grass clump, and it keeps coming back, and it nose down on my bait, and it would hit it. Nose down on my bait, and it hit it. And it acted just like a fish on a bed. Well, if you've ever been in a situation like this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've ever bed fished for a fish, you know that when you start getting them fired up, they're going to bite, and then there might be a lull, and then they'll bite, and then you'll maybe hook them or whatever. Well, I fished for this fish for 2 hours, maybe 2.5 hours, okay? I hook it 2 times in that 2.5 hour time span. Don't land it, but I keep fishing for it, of course. Waste a lot of time. It bites like 30 or 40 times. Well, by then, it's 1 o'clock. All right. So I've wasted at this point so many hours and haven't caught a fish. Like I literally had like I said, I had 1 fish at that point. Well, I finally catch number 2 at 2 o'clock, and it's a 3-pounder. So now I've got my 2 fish for 7 pounds. I make a decision to go fish a set of trees. I go to a set of trees. I don't catch anything. And at this point, I'm kind of scrambling. I had another set of trees that was about a quarter of a mile away that I felt like I could catch some fish out of. I didn't think they'd be big ones, but I was like, maybe I should go there. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, you know what? You couldn't see very good this morning. Let's run back across the lake, go back in that creek where those 4 or 5 bedding fish were. There's no doubt in my mind one of them moved, or, a couple of them moved back up. I shook off almost every one of them in practice. I should be able to catch one of these fish. Well, of course, I decide I'm going to run across the lake. I go to the spot. Every single fish is gone. Okay. So I scramble around, don't catch anything the rest of the day. Just where I was. I made some bad decisions, like detrimental decisions to my tournament day. And the problem was I never made a good rebound decision. I just kept making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. And then, of course, at that point, you get in a rush, and you're not fishing the way you need to be fishing. And I knew at this particular lake, it wasn't going to be a lake where you get 15 bites, or like you could really make up that time, because you needed that time to be able to get that 1 bite here, 1 bite there. And I got so far behind the 8 ball that I couldn't recover. Well, day 2, I was determined, and I was pissed. I mean, it's just kind of where I was at with it. So what do? I start back on that same fish that I stayed on for 2.5 hours the day before. Of course, I roll up to it, and it's still there. And mind you, I can't physically see this fish with my eyes. It's in 5 foot of water. Okay, so it's a deep bed. And in my mind, it's probably going to be a really big one because, on my active target screen, it was about this tall. And I was like, dude, this is a giant. I mean, and even if it's not a giant, it's a 5-6 pounder, something like that. And so I felt really confident that I could catch this fish. I kind of readjusted my tackle, went to a little bit smaller stuff, went to a drop shot, just made a little bit of adjustments that I was like, I'm going to get this fish to bite. Well, I start on it. I fish for it for about 30 minutes, don't catch it. Doesn't even bite, but it's still there. It's like nosing down on my stuff, and I'm like, all right. It's like, what do? So I slide on past that fish. I catch one. As soon as I slide past it, I catch one off a bed that I can see. I'll go to another one. I catch it. I'm like, heck yeah, I've got 2 already, and it's, not even 9 o'clock yet. I mean, we're doing good. Well, I slide back to this fish. Well, then it starts biting again like it did the day before. And it bites a couple times, and I'm like, I'm going to catch this joker. I don't care if I stay on it the rest of the day, because I was already in like 190th place. At this point, I had nothing to lose. I'm like, I'm going to catch this fish because he done pissed me off. Guys, I hooked it. And I got it to the boat. Come to find out, it was the biggest crappie I have ever caught in my entire life. It was over 3 pounds. Yeah, you heard that right. 3-pound crappie. Yep. So I wasted at this point probably the upper parts of 3.5 hours on a crappie. Yep, you heard that right. 3.5 hours of my 16 hours of tournament hours on a 3-pound crappie. Easily the most embarrassing thing that's happened to me, and the biggest butt fumble of my career, and no questions asked. Like, it was the worst thing that I've had happen in a while as far as that stuff goes. I mean, it tanked my day. Now, with that being said, when I hooked it, I just started busting out laughing because I had worked so hard for this fish. And for that to happen, I mean, I had no words for it. I busted out laughing. I just trolled on out of there. Like, what the heck do you do at that point? So I left, and then I fished the rest of the day. I fished clean. I had about 15 bites that day, and I caught 15 bass, and way more bass than I caught the day before, obviously. Caught a limit. Never had a big bite, but all I could think of the whole day was how big an idiot I was to fish for a dang crappie for 3.5 hours. So, with all this crap talk on live scope and forward facing sonar and active target and how easy it is and how it just makes fish jump in the boat. Well, this is a perfect example of how active target and forward facing sonar can absolutely derail you and screw you immensely. Now, it's not its fault. It's my fault because I made terrible decisions. I knew even 30 minutes into fishing for the fish the first day that I needed to roll on. But what did I do? I let my confidence, I'm not going to say ego, but it was more of a challenge. Like, I was like, I've got to catch this fish. I want to catch this fish. Like, I've already worked it for 30 minutes. And every 30 minutes that went by, I was like, God, you got to catch it now. And I got it to bite. I started getting it to bite, and it was very consistent bites. Yeah. So I ended up finishing, I don't know what place. Terrible. I mean, that still had a terrible tournament. But yeah, I wanted to share that with you guys because it's not all glitz and glamour on the tournament trail. It's not all everything happens great and everything happens exactly the way you want it to happen. You still got to make good decisions on the water. You still got to land the fish. You still got to hook the fish. And you still have to find the fish. I don't care what anybody says. And I didn't. And I didn't catch them. And I didn't land them. And I didn't make good decisions. And that's exactly what you get when you make bad decisions. So I just wanted to share all that with all of you guys. It's weighed on me pretty heavy for over a week now. And yeah, you take the good with the bad, guys. And that was bad for me. I hope you learn from my situation here. I hope you learn, yeah, it's good to trust your electronics, but sometimes it's better to give up and move on than to stay on a fish for far too long. And B, I just hope if you do stay on one, it's not a crappie. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.